The boardroom erupted into chaos the moment Beatrice Ellis stood up and announced she had just secured the Harrington Cosmetics account, the very same account that Connor Preston had been courting for 6 months. Connor felt his jaw tighten as he watched her walk out of the industry conference with that confident stride, her dark hair swinging behind her like a victory flag. She had swooped in at the last second, offered them something he could not match, and stolen what would have been the biggest win of his quarter. Ellis Beauty had been a thorn in his side since the day Beatrice had launched it 3 years ago, pulling clients from his family's legacy company, Preston & Co., with alarming frequency. His assistant, Michelle, touched his arm gently. "We still have the Morrison pitch next week." "I know," Connor said, his voice tight. He gathered his papers and left the conference hall, ignoring the sympathetic glances from other executives who had witnessed his public defeat. Back at his office in downtown Chicago, Connor stared out at the skyline and tried to calm the frustration burning in his chest. Preston & Co. had been the premier beauty and skincare distributor in the Midwest for 30 years. His father had built it from nothing, and Connor had taken over as CEO 2 years ago with plans to expand nationally. Then Beatrice Ellis had appeared, young and hungry and brilliant, with innovative marketing strategies and an uncanny ability to understand what brands wanted. She was 28 to his 31, but she moved through the industry like someone who had been doing this for decades. Beautiful, sharp, and utterly ruthless when it came to business. He respected her, even as she drove him absolutely crazy. His phone buzzed with a text from his younger sister, Lauren. "Heard about Harrington. Sorry, big brother. Drinks tonight," Connor declined. He needed to work, not wallow. He had Morrison skincare to prepare for, and he refused to let Beatrice beat him twice in 1 month. 3 days later, Connor was at an industry gala, a fundraiser for youth entrepreneurship programs that every major player in Chicago's beauty and fashion distribution world attended. He wore his best suit and worked the room with practiced ease, shaking hands and making connections. He was talking to Gregory Morrison himself when he spotted her across the ballroom. Beatrice wore a deep blue dress that hugged her curves and made her look both elegant and dangerous. She was laughing at something a silver-haired executive was saying, her hand resting lightly on the man's arm. Connor felt an unexpected jolt of something he refused to name. "That Ellis girl is something else," Gregory said, following Connor's gaze. "She tried to poach me too, you know." Connor forced his attention back to Gregory. "But you are still considering Preston & Co., right?" "Of course," Gregory assured him. "Your father and I go way back. I would not make a decision without hearing your pitch first." It was not exactly a commitment, but Connor took what he could get. They talked for a few more minutes before Gregory excused himself to greet other guests. Connor headed toward the bar, needing something stronger than champagne. "Whiskey neat," he told the bartender. "Make that 2." A familiar voice said beside him. Connor turned to find Beatrice standing there, that infuriating hint of amusement in her green eyes. Up close, she was even more striking, with delicate features that belied the steel underneath. "Celebrating your latest theft?" Connor asked, accepting his drink. "It is not theft when I offer something better," Beatrice replied smoothly. "Harrington wanted fresh thinking and a younger demographic. I delivered, by undercutting my price, by understanding their needs." She sipped her whiskey, studying him over the rim of her glass. "You are good at what you do, Preston, but you play it too safe. Your father's playbook is not going to work forever." Connor felt his temper flare. "My father built an empire with that playbook, and I am building one by writing a new one." She set down her glass. "This is not personal, you know. It is just business." "Feels pretty personal when you keep stealing my clients." Something flickered in her expression, too quick to read. Then I guess you need to get better at keeping them. She walked away before he could respond, leaving him standing at the bar with his whiskey and his wounded pride. Connor watched her disappear into the crowd, hating how, even in a room full of beautiful women, his eyes kept finding her. The Morrison pitch came the following week. Connor and his team prepared exhaustively, crafting a proposal that highlighted Preston and Co.'s reliability, extensive distribution network, and competitive pricing. They presented in Morrison's downtown offices on a rainy Tuesday morning. Connor thought it went well. Gregory seemed engaged, asked good questions, and told them he would have a decision by Friday. Connor left feeling cautiously optimistic. On Thursday, his optimism died. Gregory's assistant called to inform him that Morrison Skincare had decided to go with Ellis Beauty. Connor hung up and sat in stunned silence. 2 major losses in 2 weeks. His board would not be pleased. More than that, his pride was bruised in a way he had not experienced since his early days in business. He found himself wondering what Beatrice had offered that he had not. What magic words she had spoken to win yet another client from under his nose. It was eating at him, this constant losing to her. That evening, Connor went for a run along the lakefront, trying to clear his head. The autumn air was crisp, and the last rays of sunlight painted the water gold. He was so lost in thought that he almost did not notice the woman sitting on a bench ahead of him, her shoulders shaking. He slowed as he got closer, then stopped entirely when he realized it was Beatrice. She was crying. Not just tearing up, but really crying, her face in her hands, her whole body trembling with the force of it. Connor stood there, uncertain. Part of him wanted to keep running, to leave his rival to her breakdown. But a bigger part, the part his mother had raised to be a gentleman, would not let him walk past someone in obvious distress. "Ellis," he said quietly. She jerked up, and he saw the shock on her tear-stained face. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she quickly wiped at her eyes, trying to compose herself. "What do you want?" Her voice was rough, lacking all its usual confidence. "I was running. Are you okay?" "I am fine." She turned away from him, staring out at the water. Connor should have left it there. Should have nodded and continued his run. Instead, he found himself sitting down on the bench beside her, giving her space but making it clear he was not leaving. "You do not look fine," he said. Beatrice let out a shaky laugh. "No, I suppose I do not." She was quiet for a long moment. "My mother called. She is sick. Really sick. Cancer, stage 4. Connor felt his chest tighten. "I am sorry. She wants me to come home to Ohio to help take care of her, but I cannot just leave my business. I have worked so hard to build it, and if I step away now, even for a few months, I could lose everything." Her voice broke. "What kind of daughter does that make me?" "A scared one," Connor said softly. "Not a bad one." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Connor saw past the rival, past the confidence and the victories. He saw a young woman who was terrified and alone. "I do not know what to do," Beatrice whispered. Connor did not have answers for her. He was not even sure why he was still sitting there, comforting the woman who had just cost him 2 major accounts. But something in his chest had shifted the moment he saw her crying, and he could not seem to shift it back. "Can you hire someone to manage things while you are gone?" he asked. "Maybe. But who? I have a small team and no one knows the business like I do. No one has the relationships." She rubbed her temples. "And I have spent every penny I have building Ellis Beauty. I do not have the capital to bring on a senior executive." They sat in silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Connor was aware of how close she was, how he could smell her perfume, something floral and subtle. "Thank you," Beatrice said eventually, "for stopping. You did not have to, I know." She stood, gathering herself. The vulnerable woman from moments ago was being tucked away, replaced by the polished professional. But Connor had seen behind the curtain now, and he could not unsee it. "I should go," she said. "Beatrice." He stood as well, using her first name for the first time. She paused. "If you need anything, let me know." She gave him a sad smile. "We are rivals, Preston. You are supposed to be celebrating my difficulties, not offering help. Maybe I am not as ruthless as you think. Or maybe you are a better person than I gave you credit for." She turned and walked away, and Connor stood on the lakefront until long after she disappeared from view. He could not stop thinking about her. It bothered him through the rest of the week, distracting him during meetings and keeping him up at night. He told himself it was just sympathy for her situation, but he knew it was more than that. Connor had dated plenty of women. He had even been serious with a few. But he had never felt this pull, this magnetic draw to someone, and it was inconvenient as hell that it was directed at Beatrice Ellis. 10 days after their encounter at the lakefront, Connor was working late when an idea struck him. It was crazy. His board would think he had lost his mind. But he could not shake it. He picked up his phone and called Beatrice. She answered on the third ring, sounding surprised. "Preston." "Are you busy?" "I am always busy." "Why, meet me for coffee tomorrow morning. I have a proposal for you." There was a pause. "What kind of proposal?" "The kind we should discuss in person." Another pause, longer this time. 8 o'clock, the cafe on Madison. She hung up before he could respond, and Connor sat back in his chair, wondering if he was about to make the biggest mistake of his career or the smartest move of his life. The cafe was busy the next morning, full of professionals grabbing their caffeine fix before work. Connor arrived first and claimed a corner table. Beatrice showed up exactly at 8, dressed in a charcoal blazer and cream blouse, looking every inch the successful executive except for the shadows under her eyes. "You look tired," he said as she sat down. "I am tired. I have been up half the night working on a pitch for Stellix Cosmetics." She signaled the waiter and ordered an espresso. "What is this proposal?" Connor had rehearsed this a dozen times, but now that she was sitting across from him, the words felt inadequate. "How is your mother?" "Starting treatment. I am flying out next weekend." Her expression tightened. "I will only be gone a few days, but I need to go back regularly. It is going to be difficult to manage. I might have a solution." He took a breath. "Merge our companies." Beatrice stared at him like he had grown a second head. "What? Hear me out. Preston and Co. has the infrastructure, the capital, and the established client base. Ellis Beauty has the innovation, the fresh approach, and the growing market share. Together, we would dominate the Midwest market, maybe even break into the national scene." He leaned forward. "You merge with us. You keep your autonomy on the creative and strategy side, and you gain the resources to properly staff your operation. Which means you could step away when you need to without everything falling apart." "You want me to give up my company," Beatrice said slowly. "I want us to combine our strengths. You would be an equal partner, not an employee. We would rebrand as Preston Ellis Distributors, or whatever we decide together." He could see her processing it, the wheels turning behind those sharp green eyes. "Think about it, Beatrice. No more fighting for the same clients. No more sleepless nights wondering if you can make payroll. And you could be there for your mother without sacrificing everything you have built." "Why would you do this?" she asked. "You hate me." "I do not hate you. I have never hated you. I have cost you millions in lost business. And if we worked together, we would make it all back and then some." He held her gaze. "This is not charity, it is smart business. But yes, part of my motivation is that I think you deserve to be with your mother without losing everything." Beatrice looked away, her jaw working. "I need to think about it, of course. Take all the time you need." He pushed a folder across the table. Here are some preliminary numbers, just rough estimates of what a merged company could look like financially. No obligation. She took the folder but did not open it. I should go. Beatrice. She paused halfway out of her seat. For what it is worth, I think your mother is lucky to have a daughter who cares this much. Her eyes shimmered for just a moment before she blinked it away. I will call you. Connor watched her leave, wondering if he had just made a genuine business proposal, or if he had just found an excuse to bind his life to hers. Maybe both. 3 days passed with no word. Connor tried not to let it bother him, but he found himself checking his phone constantly. He told himself it was about business, about the potential of the merger. But late at night, alone in his apartment, he admitted the truth to himself. He wanted to see her again. He wanted to know more about her, to see that vulnerable side she kept hidden from the world. He wanted to make her laugh, to take away some of the weight she carried on those slim shoulders. It was dangerous territory, wanting his rival. Dangerous and foolish. But Connor had never been one to back away from a challenge. On the 4th day, Beatrice called. Can you come to my office? When? Now. He was there in 20 minutes. Ellis Beauty operated out of a converted warehouse in the West Loop, all exposed brick and modern furniture. Beatrice met him in her office, which had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I had my lawyer look over everything, she said without preamble. He thinks I would be crazy to turn this down. But, Connor said, hearing the hesitation in her voice, but this is my company, my baby. I have poured everything into it. She crossed her arms, a defensive gesture. How do I know you would not edge me out once we merge? Take over and push me aside. You do not, Connor said honestly. Just like I do not know you would not do the same to me. It would require trust, and a solid legal agreement that protects both our interests. Trust, Beatrice repeated, almost laughing. We have been enemies for 3 years. We have been competitors. That is not the same thing. He moved closer, and he saw her tense slightly. I know you do not have any reason to trust me, but I am asking you to take a chance. I think we could build something incredible together. She studied him for a long moment, and Connor felt like she was seeing straight through him, reading every thought and motive. It should have been uncomfortable, but instead, it made him feel alive in a way he had not in years. I have conditions, she said finally. Relief flooded through him. Name them. I want equal say in all major decisions. I want my team protected, their jobs guaranteed for at least 2 years, and I want creative control over our marketing and brand strategies. Done, done, and done. Just like that, he smiled. I told you this is a partnership. I want you to have a voice. Beatrice nodded slowly. Okay, let us do this. Let us merge our companies and see if we can avoid killing each other in the process. Connor extended his hand, and after a moment she took it. Her hand was small in his, but her grip was firm. The touch sent a jolt through him that he tried to ignore. Partners, he said. Partners, she echoed, and for the first time since he had met her, she gave him a genuine smile. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers, accountants, and board members. Connor's board was skeptical at first, but the numbers won them over. Beatrice's smaller team was nervous about the change, but she assured them their positions were secure. Through it all, Connor and Beatrice worked side by side, often late into the night, hammering out details and making decisions. He learned that she took her coffee with too much sugar, that she chewed her pen when she was thinking, and that she had a sharp wit that made him laugh when he least expected it. He also learned that she was brilliant. Not just smart, but genuinely visionary in how she approached marketing and client relations. She saw angles he missed, understood psychological triggers that drove purchasing decisions in ways he had never considered. You are staring, Beatrice said one night, not looking up from the contract she was reviewing. "Sorry, I was just thinking about how I have been an idiot for not trying to hire you years ago." She did look up then, one eyebrow raised. "You could not have afforded me." "Probably not." He grinned. "But I could have tried." Something passed between them in that moment, a charge in the air that made his pulse quicken. Beatrice felt it too. He could tell by the way her breath caught, the way her pupils dilated slightly. Then she looked away, clearing her throat. "We should finish this. I have an early flight tomorrow." "Ohio," she nodded. "My mother starts her second round of chemo on Monday. I want to be there." "How long will you be gone?" "A week, maybe more depending on how she handles it." Beatrice rubbed her eyes, exhaustion evident in every line of her body. "I hate leaving right in the middle of everything. We will manage. That is the whole point of this merger, remember, so you do not have to carry everything alone." She gave him a grateful look. "Thank you, Connor. Really. I do not think I have said that enough. This merger, it is giving me a lifeline I desperately needed. You would have figured something out. You are too stubborn not to. Maybe, but this is better." She stood, gathering her things. "I should go. I still need to pack." Connor stood as well. "Can I drive you home? I have my car." "Then can I walk you to it?" Beatrice looked at him for a long moment, and he wondered what she saw. Whatever it was, it made her nod. "Okay." They took the elevator down in silence, and Connor was acutely aware of how small the space was, how close she stood. Her perfume filled his senses, and he had to clench his fists to keep from reaching for her. The parking garage was nearly empty at this late hour. Beatrice's car, a sleek silver sedan, was parked near the elevator. She unlocked it but did not get in, turning to face him instead. "Connor, can I ask you something? Anything? Why did you really propose this merger? And do not tell me it is just good business." He could lie, should lie. Keep things professional and uncomplicated. But something in her eyes made him tell the truth. "I saw you crying on that bench, and something inside me shifted. I stopped seeing you as just my rival and started seeing you as a person, someone remarkable who was struggling, and I wanted to help." He paused. "And maybe I wanted an excuse to spend more time with you." Beatrice drew in a sharp breath. "Connor, I know it is complicated. I know we are partners now and there are professional boundaries. But I would be lying if I said I had not thought about you, about us, as more than just business associates." "We cannot," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "It would be a disaster. What if it did not work out? We would ruin everything we are building. Or what if it did work out? What if we could have both the professional partnership and something personal?" She shook her head. "I cannot think about this right now. My mother is dying. I am merging my company. Everything is chaos. I know. I am not asking for anything right now. I just wanted you to know where I stand." He stepped back, giving her space. "Go to Ohio. Be with your mother. We will hold down the fort here." Beatrice looked at him with an expression so conflicted it made his chest ache. Then, before he could react, she closed the distance between them and kissed him. It was not a long kiss, just a brief press of her lips against his, but it sent lightning through his veins. She pulled back almost immediately, her eyes wide. "I should not have done that," she said. "I am glad you did. Connor, this is crazy. We barely know each other outside of business." "Then let us change that. When you get back, let me take you to dinner. A real date, not a business meeting. And if it is a disaster, then we will deal with it. But I think it will be worth the risk." He touched her face gently, and she leaned into his palm for just a moment. "You are worth the risk, Beatrice." She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was something vulnerable and hopeful in their depths. "One date, when I get back." "One date," he agreed. She got into her car then, and Connor watched her drive away, feeling like he had just leaped off a cliff with no idea if there was water below or rocks. But for the first time in his carefully planned life, he did not care about the landing. He only cared about the fall. The week Beatrice was in Ohio felt endless. Connor threw himself into work, meeting with her team and his own to ensure the merger was progressing smoothly. He briefed her daily over the phone, careful to keep things professional even though he could hear the exhaustion in her voice. "How is your mother?" he always asked at the end of their calls. "Hanging in there," Beatrice would say, and Connor learned to hear the worry beneath the words. On Friday, she called with news. "The chemo is making her really sick, but the doctors say that is normal. She needs me here longer than I planned, maybe 2 more weeks. Take all the time you need, we have everything under control here." "Connor," her voice was soft, "I am really glad we are doing this, the merger, I mean. Knowing that my business is not going to collapse while I am here, it is such a relief. I am glad too. And Beatrice, I am thinking about you, not just about the business." There was a pause, and he could almost see her biting her lip the way she did when she was trying to decide something. "I am thinking about you too, more than I should." Those words carried him through the next 2 weeks. Connor managed the merged operations, making decisions but running the major ones by Beatrice first. Her team adapted better than expected, and his own people were warming to the new arrangement. Slowly, Preston Ellis Distributors was taking shape. Beatrice finally returned to Chicago on a Wednesday afternoon. Connor picked her up from the airport against her protests. "You do not need to do this," she said as she slid into his car, but she was smiling. "I wanted to." He studied her, noting the exhaustion etched into her features but also something lighter in her expression. "How are you really? Tired, sad, but okay. My mother has good days and bad days. I will need to go back every few weeks, but for now she is stable." Beatrice sighed. "Tell me something good. Tell me how the business is doing." As Connor drove toward her apartment, he filled her in on everything that had happened. They had landed 2 new clients, including a mid-sized cosmetics company that had been on both their wish lists for years. Revenue projections were up. The teams were meshing well. "You did all this in 2 weeks?" Beatrice asked, sounding impressed. "We did all this. Your team executed your strategies and they are working beautifully." He glanced at her. "You have built something special, Beatrice. Do not ever doubt that." He saw her swallow hard, emotion crossing her face. When he pulled up in front of her building, she did not immediately get out. Instead, she turned to him. "That date you mentioned. Are you still interested?" "Absolutely. Tomorrow night. I will pick you up at 7. She nodded, then leaned over and kissed his cheek. "Thank you for everything, Connor. For the merger, for taking care of things while I was gone, for just being there." "Always," he said, and meant it. The next evening, Connor arrived at her building at exactly 7, holding a bouquet of white roses. When Beatrice opened her door, his breath caught. She wore a simple black dress that was somehow both elegant and sexy, her hair loose around her shoulders in soft waves. "You look beautiful," he said. A slight blush colored her cheeks. "You clean up pretty well yourself." He had made reservations at a rooftop restaurant with views of the city skyline. As they sat across from each other, wine glasses in hand, Connor felt nerves for the first time in years. This mattered. She mattered. "So," Beatrice said, a hint of amusement in her voice, "first date ground rules, no business talk." "Agreed. Which means I actually have to think of conversation topics." She laughed, and the sound made him smile. "Tell me something I do not know about you." "Something personal." Connor thought for a moment. "I wanted to be a chef when I was a kid." "Really? What happened?" "My father expected me to take over the company. It was never really a question. I went to business school, did my MBA, learned the industry inside and out." He paused. "I do not regret it. I love what I do. But sometimes I wonder what my life would have looked like if I had chased that dream instead." "Do you still cook?" when I have time. Which is not often. He leaned forward. Your turn. Tell me something I do not know. Beatrice traced the rim of her wine glass, considering. I started Ellis Beauty because no one would hire me. I had all these ideas about marketing and brand positioning, but I was young and female and everyone thought I was too inexperienced. So I decided to prove them wrong. You certainly did that. Sometimes I still feel like that scared girl, faking confidence and hoping no one realizes I am making it up as I go. She met his eyes. But then I land a big client or close a deal, and I remember that I am good at this, that I have earned my place. You are more than good at this, Beatrice. You are exceptional. The evening flowed easily from there. They talked about everything, their families, their dreams, their fears. Connor learned that she had a younger brother in medical school, that she loved old movies and terrible reality TV, that she was terrified of spiders but would never admit it to anyone. He told her about his sister Lauren's upcoming wedding, about how his father still called every week to check on the company, about the time he had tried to quit business school to travel Europe, and his mother had talked him back. I like this, Beatrice said as they shared a dessert, their knees touching under the table. Seeing you as just Connor, not Connor Preston, CEO, I like it too. Though I have to say I have been attracted to Beatrice Ellis, CEO, for a while now. Really. You hit it well under all that glowering. I was not glowering. I was admiring from a distance while you stole my clients. She laughed again, and Connor wanted to make her laugh like that every day for the rest of his life. The thought should have scared him, this fast free fall into feelings. But it felt right in a way nothing else ever had. After dinner, they walked along the river, the city lights reflecting off the water. Beatrice shivered slightly in the cool air, and Connor shrugged off his jacket and draped it around her shoulders. Thank you, she murmured, pulling it close. They walked in comfortable silence for a while before Beatrice spoke. I am scared, Connor. Of what? This. Us. What happens if we mess it up? The merger is finally coming together. The company is thriving. If we try this and it falls apart, we could ruin everything. Connor stopped walking, turning to face her. He took her hands in his, feeling how cold they were. We could. Or we could build something even better. Something that matters beyond profit margins and client lists. How are you so calm about this? You are risking just as much as I am. I am not calm. I am terrified, he admitted. But I am more scared of not trying, of spending the rest of my life wondering what we could have been. He squeezed her hands gently. I am falling for you, Beatrice, hard and fast and in a way I have never fallen for anyone before. And yes, it could ruin everything, but being with you beats being without you, even if it means ruining everything we have built. Tears shimmered in her eyes. Connor, you do not have to say anything. I just needed you to know. I am falling for you too, she whispered. And it is terrifying and wonderful, and I do not know what to do with all these feelings. Connor pulled her close, and she came willingly, resting her head against his chest. He could feel her heart beating rapidly, matching the pace of his own. We will figure it out, he said into her hair. Together. She tilted her face up to his, and this time when they kissed, it was not hurried or uncertain. It was slow and deep and full of promise. Connor poured everything he felt into that kiss, every hope and fear and dream, and Beatrice kissed him back like she was drowning and he was air. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Beatrice smiled up at him. So what now? Now I take you home, and tomorrow we figure out how to run a company together while dating. It will be an adventure. I am beginning to think everything with you is an adventure. You have no idea, he said, and kissed her again. The next few months were indeed an adventure. Connor and Beatrice navigated the complicated waters of being both business partners and romantic partners. They set ground rules. No relationship talk during business hours. Disagreements at work stayed at work and did not come home, and they each maintained their own space and independence. It worked better than Connor had any right to hope. Preston Ellis distributors flourished under their combined leadership. They landed major national accounts, including a massive deal with a luxury skincare brand that put them on the map beyond the Midwest. Revenue doubled, then tripled. But more than the business success, Connor cherished the personal moments. Weekend mornings in bed, cooking breakfast together. Late-night conversations about everything and nothing. The way Beatrice would seek him out after a particularly hard day, just needing to be held. He went with her to Ohio to visit her mother, meeting the tiny spitfire of a woman who had raised Beatrice. Mrs. Ellis was weak from treatment but sharp as ever, and she took one look at Connor and Beatrice together and smiled knowingly. "You found yourself a good man," she told Beatrice when Connor was out of the room. "I know, Mom. Do not let work get in the way of happiness. I made that mistake with your father, putting the business before everything else. I do not want you to have the same regrets." Beatrice had cried that night in Connor's arms, grieving for the time she knew was running out. Connor held her and promised that whatever happened, she would not face it alone. 6 months into their relationship, Connor knew he wanted to marry her. It was not a gradual realization, but a sudden certainty that hit him during a particularly boring board meeting. Beatrice was presenting quarterly results, commanding the room with her confidence and brilliance, and Connor thought, "I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman." He started looking at rings the next day, but before he could propose, crisis struck. A former Preston & Co. client sued them, claiming breach of contract. The timing was suspicious, coming right after they had beaten the client's new distributor for a major account. The lawsuit was baseless, but it was also expensive and time-consuming. Connor wanted to settle. Beatrice wanted to fight. "If we settle, we look guilty," she argued during a heated meeting in Connor's office. "We did nothing wrong. I refuse to pay them off. If we fight, it could drag on for years and cost us more than the settlement," Connor countered. "Sometimes the smart business move is to cut your losses. This is not about smart business. It is about principle. Principles do not pay legal fees, Beatrice." She flinched at his tone, and Connor immediately regretted it, but the damage was done. Beatrice stood, her expression cold. Noted, "I will defer to your judgment as you clearly feel yours is superior." She walked out before he could apologize. Connor tried calling her that evening, but she did not answer. He texted, asking if they could talk. No response. By the next morning, he was worried enough to show up at her apartment. Beatrice answered the door in sweatpants and one of his old shirts, her eyes red-rimmed. "I do not want to fight." "Neither do I. I am sorry. I was dismissive and condescending, and you did not deserve that. I am sorry, too. I was being stubborn just to be stubborn," she sighed, stepping aside to let him in. "This is what I was afraid of, that work disagreements would bleed into our relationship." "It is one fight, Beatrice. We will have more. That is normal. But what if we cannot separate the personal and professional? What if eventually we resent each other?" Connor pulled her close, feeling her resistance melt away. "Then we work harder at communication. We remember that we are on the same team, even when we disagree." He kissed her forehead. "I love you, Beatrice. One lawsuit is not going to change that." She pulled back to look at him, eyes wide. "You love me? Damn." He had not meant to say it like this in her messy apartment after a fight. He had planned something romantic, with the ring in his pocket and the perfect setting. But the words were out, and he meant them with every fiber of his being. "Yes, I love you. I have for a while now." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. "I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes." "Me too," Connor admitted, "but we will figure it out, together." They decided to fight the lawsuit, united in their decision. It took 8 months of legal wrangling, but eventually the case was dismissed with prejudice. The judge called it a frivolous attempt at extortion, and Preston Ellis Distributors was awarded legal fees. Through it all, Connor and Beatrice grew stronger together. They learned to communicate better, to fight fair when they disagreed, and to always come back to what mattered: their love for each other. Beatrice's mother passed away on a snowy January evening, surrounded by family. Beatrice was devastated, but she also found peace knowing she had been there for her mother in those final months, that the merger had allowed her that precious time. Connor was with her through all of it, holding her through the tears, helping plan the funeral, supporting her as she grieved. In those dark days, Beatrice learned that Connor was not just her partner in business and romance, but her partner in life, the person she could lean on when the world felt too heavy to bear alone. Spring brought renewal. The lawsuit was over. The business was thriving beyond either of their original dreams, and Connor finally put his plan into motion. He took Beatrice back to the lakefront where he had first seen her crying, where everything had started to change between them. It was a perfect evening, warm and clear, with the setting sun painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. "Why did you want to come here?" Beatrice asked, lacing her fingers through his. "Because this is where I first saw you as more than my rival. This is where everything shifted for me." He turned to face her, his heart pounding. "This is where I started falling in love with you, even if I did not realize it at the time, Connor." He dropped to one knee, pulling the ring box from his pocket. Beatrice's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming down her face. "Beatrice Ellis, you have challenged me, frustrated me, inspired me, and loved me in ways I never knew I needed. You are my partner in every sense of the word, and I cannot imagine my life without you in it." He opened the box, revealing the diamond ring he had chosen so carefully. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," she said, not even looking at the ring, her eyes locked on his. "Yes, absolutely yes." Connor slid the ring onto her finger and stood, sweeping her into his arms. She kissed him like her life depended on it, laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you so much," she said between kisses. "I love you too. I am going to spend the rest of my life proving it." They got married that summer in a small ceremony at a vineyard outside the city. Lauren was Beatrice's maid of honor, and Connor's best friend from college was his best man. It was intimate and perfect, just family and close friends celebrating two people who had found something rare and precious. At the reception, Connor's father gave a toast that made everyone tear up. "When Connor told me he wanted to merge with his biggest rival, I thought he had lost his mind. But I raised a smart man, and he saw something I did not. He saw opportunity where others saw competition. He saw partnership where others saw conflict, and he saw love where others might have only seen business." He raised his glass. "To Connor and Beatrice. May you continue to build an empire together, both in business and in life." As Connor danced with his new wife under the stars, he thought about how far they had come. From rivals to partners, to lovers to husband and wife. It had been risky, choosing love over caution, choosing to build something with her even knowing it could all fall apart. "What are you thinking about?" Beatrice asked, her head resting on his shoulder. "How falling for you was the best decision I ever made. Even if it could have ruined everything, it was worth the risk." She pulled back to look at him, her eyes shining with love. "You know what I realized? What? We did not ruin everything. We built something better, something that neither of us could have created alone." Connor kissed her, long and sweet, and knew she was absolutely right. 2 years later, Connor sat in his office at Preston Ellis Distributors, now one of the top 5 beauty and skincare distributors in the country. They had offices in New York and Los Angeles, a team of over 200 employees, an annual revenue that still made him do a double take. But none of that compared to what was waiting for him at home. He left the office early, something he tried to do at least twice a week now. Beatrice was already there, having worked from home that afternoon. She was in the nursery, rocking their 3-month-old daughter, Emma Rose Preston. "Hey," Connor said softly from the doorway, not wanting to disturb the peaceful scene. Beatrice looked up and smiled. "Hey yourself. Good day." "Great day. Landed the Westwood account. I knew you would." She stood carefully, still holding the sleeping baby. "She just went down. We have maybe an hour before she wakes up demanding dinner." Connor took his daughter gently, marveling as he always did at how small and perfect she was. Emma had Beatrice's eyes and his dark hair, and she had completely stolen his heart the moment she was born. "I still cannot believe she is ours," he said. "I know. Sometimes I look at her and think about everything that had to happen for her to exist, if you had not proposed that merger. If I had not taken the risk. If I had not fallen for my business rival," Connor added with a grin. Beatrice moved close, resting her head against his shoulder as they both gazed at their daughter. "Best risk I ever took." "Same," Connor said. He meant it. Every crazy, terrifying, wonderful moment had led them here, to this life they had built together. A thriving business, a beautiful family, and a love that had survived rivalry, merger, lawsuit, loss, and everything else life had thrown at them. Standing there with his wife and daughter, Connor thought about that night at the lakefront when he had first seen past Beatrice's armor to the woman beneath. He had known then, on some instinctive level, that she was going to change his life. He just had not realized how completely, how wonderfully. "What are you thinking about now?" Beatrice asked. "How I would ruin everything all over again if it meant ending up here with you." She kissed him softly. "Good thing you do not have to. We get to keep both the empire and each other." "Best of both worlds," Connor agreed. Emma stirred in his arms, making the little squeaking noise that meant she would be awake and hungry soon. Connor handed her to Beatrice, watching as his wife settled into the nursing chair. This was his life now. Late nights at the office balanced with early mornings with his family. Board meetings and diaper changes. Business deals and bedtime stories. It was chaotic and exhausting and more fulfilling than anything he had ever imagined. All because he had taken a chance on a merger that everyone said was crazy. All because he had fallen for the woman who was supposed to be his rival, his competition, his enemy. Instead, she had become his everything. As Beatrice fed their daughter, she looked up at Connor and smiled, and in that smile, he saw their past, their present, and their future. All the late-night strategy sessions that had turned into something more, all the business trips that had become romantic getaways, all the challenges they had faced together and would continue to face. "I love our life," Beatrice said, as if reading his thoughts. "So do I," Connor said. "Every messy, unpredictable, perfect moment of it." That evening, after Emma was asleep in her crib and they had eaten a late dinner together, Connor and Beatrice sat on their balcony overlooking the city. The skyline glittered before them, and Connor thought about all the dreams that had been built and broken and rebuilt in those buildings. "We should take a vacation," Beatrice said, curled against his side. "A real one. Maybe next month when your parents can watch Emma. Where do you want to go? Somewhere warm. Somewhere we can just be us for a few days, not CEO and COO, not mom and dad, just Connor and Beatrice." "I like the sound of that." He kissed the top of her head. "Hawaii, perfect." They sat in comfortable silence, and Connor felt a deep contentment settle over him. This was what happiness looked like. Not just success or achievement, but this quiet moment with the woman he loved, knowing their daughter was safe in the next room, knowing they had built something lasting and true. His phone buzzed with an email, probably something work-related that could wait until morning. He ignored it, focusing instead on the present moment, on the feeling of Beatrice's warmth against him and the soft sounds of the city below. "I am glad you proposed that merger," Beatrice said suddenly. "I am glad you said yes, even though I fought you on it at first. Especially because you fought me on it. You would not be you if you did not push back and make sure it was the right move." She laughed softly. "True. I still cannot believe how far we have come, from barely being able to be in the same room without arguing to this. I always could be in the same room with you. I just did not want to admit how much I liked it. Liar. You hated me. I never hated you. I was intimidated by you, impressed by you, and yes, attracted to you, even when you were stealing my clients." He tilted her face up to his. "But I never hated you." "I never hated you either," Beatrice admitted. "Though there were definitely moments I wanted to. The feeling was mutual." They kissed, slow and sweet, years of love and partnership in that simple connection. When they pulled apart, Beatrice was smiling. "We should get some sleep. Emma will be up in a few hours." "5 more minutes," Connor said, holding her close. "I want to remember this, how perfect right now is." So they stayed on the balcony, watching the city lights and holding each other while their daughter slept peacefully inside. In that moment, Connor felt like the luckiest man alive. He had taken a risk on love, on partnership, on a future that was uncertain and terrifying. And it had paid off in ways he never could have predicted. Falling for Beatrice Ellis had not ruined everything. It had made everything possible. And Connor knew with absolute certainty that he would make the same choice again and again, in this life and any other, because being with her would always beat being without her. Every single time.